What's up, y'all? It's Classified.
This is Mocha Only.
This Sean Price.
Yeah, Ghostface Killer.
This is Quake Matthews.
What's up, my brother Ali?
Fife Diggy, Tribe Called Quest.
Eloquent, man.
What up, Styles P the Ghost?
This is Ab Soul.
This is KO, and you listening to the Come Up Show, where that feel-good music lives. Hey.
This is a show that you come up on, yeah. This is a spot that you come up strong.
What's going on? Welcome to the Come Up Show podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm Martin Bauman, and today I am talking to one of the most talented freestylers in all of hip-hop. My guest today has a lot to say. Half Iranian, half black, and at one time half of the rap group The Frontline. In many ways, he's an embodiment of the American dream. Son of two parents from different backgrounds, looking for a better future for the next generation. He's a graduate of UC Berkeley. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in African American Studies, and for years he worked as a mentor to young kids. On the microphone, he sticks out just as much. He was a finalist in MTV's 2003 MC Freestyle Championship. He hasn't written a verse down in 15 years. He's also had his share of hardships, too. As a kid, he was picked on for his mixed-race heritage, and he was sexually abused. After exercising those demons on 1,000 Cuts and reminiscing on his neighborhood on the Green Box, Lofty Goals is all about looking ahead and striving for more. It's about overcoming self-doubt. It's about letting go of pride. I caught up with Locksmith to talk about insecurity, race in America, putting love first, and much more. Take a listen. One review that I was reading while I was listening to Lofty Goals and digging back into checking out 1,000 Cuts, one review called 1,000 Cuts about struggle and Lofty Goals about the light at the end of that struggle. How do you like that comparison?
I think that's a pretty good comparison. I remember that review. I'm not sure who did that or who said that, but I do remember that, and I think that is a fair comparison. I think that it's a light at the end of the tunnel. Like, you may not be like, I don't know if anybody ever reaches the light because you're always like striving, you're always struggling, but I believe that Lofty Goals is like believing that there is a light, you know?
So it's the optimism side of things coming out.
I definitely believe so, yeah. Absolutely.
Someone on Twitter asked you were doing a question and answer bit for a while back, and someone asked you, what means more, looking back and seeing how far you've come, or looking forward to see how far you could go? And you replied, I feel like they're both connected. Can you dig into that?
Yeah, I believe that because it's all a part of the process. You know what I mean? The process is like one thing that sometimes it's a struggle to deal with it, but one thing that I've tried to accept and I try to learn is while doing music is to be focused on the process. You know what I mean? Enjoy the process. Enjoy the fact that even though it's difficult, you know what I mean? Sometimes as an artist, especially independent, when you're working and you're constantly, like for myself, running my own business, producing a lot of my own work, writing raps, touring, doing all these different things, looking for strategies, and because this is really independent. You know what I mean? Like, some people say they're independent, but when you're really independent and you're really working constantly, trying to, you're dedicating your life, you're dedicating to what you truly believe in your art form. It's a process. So sometimes you get lost in the process. Sometimes you get lost in the struggle, but sometimes you have to sit there and also be grateful for the accomplishments and the things that you have and everything that you've accomplished and everything that you're looking forward to. So it's like it's all interconnected. Like you can't look forward without looking back, and you can't look back without looking forward because you're in the process. I think when you start thinking, at least for myself, when I start looking at it as like a third party, then I don't know, then I get lost. I'll never be able to catch up. So it's like I'm constantly in it. I'm constantly going, and I'm appreciative for it too, So I have to I don't know. I feel like they're all connected. I feel like, looking back and looking forward, it's all part of the process, and you have to focus on the process and enjoy the process while you're doing it at the same time. Because at the end of the day, I am doing what I love. I'm grateful to be doing what I love, so I'm accepting of the process.
Let's look back for a little bit, first of all. What was it like for you growing up in Crescent Park in Richmond?
Growing up in Crescent Park, it was a lot of things, man. I mean, one thing, first of all, Crescent Park was a hood. You know, it was a housing project. It is still a housing project in Richmond. Um, it was in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. It was, violence and stuff going on. There's still a lot of violence going on there. But I think that was like the start, kind of like the real start of like the heavy violence and stuff like that. And but one of the things that was really beneficial for me, I had both my parents. I grew up with both my parents, my mother and my father. My father being, an immigrant from Iran, my mother being a black woman from the Midwest. And then, they had me, and, so I was, very, it was very beneficial, and I was very grateful to have both my parents, and I didn't realize that, the impact that would have on my life until later on. But, a lot of my friends or a lot of people in the neighborhood, they necessarily didn't have that, So I had that. I had a little bit of shelter, a little bit of guidance, even though I was in there in the midst of that, but I also had a little bit of protection. And so it was different, man. I grew up, I played basketball, so that kind of kept me out of trouble. I never really got into things that some of my, other people or some of my other peers got into. And then eventually, I was able to graduate high school, man, and go to college. And, and I think that I have to credit that to the fact that I had great parents, and then I also had great mentors when I was playing basketball, other people that I saw went on to college and do other things. So I was like, okay, this is real to me. I don't have to, be hustling or do any of that kind of stuff. I have mentors that have shown, like, look, I came from Richmond and I went to college. So, I was able to go to UC Berkeley and move on. But it was interesting, man, growing up. It was, like I said, it was a lot of violence, but at the same time, it was a sense of community. It was, even though it was like, a lot of hood shit that was going on, but it was just like the lady next door, the lady across the street, and the people behind us, they all, like, my mother all knew them. So it was like a family. It was like aunties and uncles all around. So it was like everybody watched after everybody to a certain extent. So there was a very strong sense of community and family.
You said that you played basketball. Did you play in high school, or was that just strictly with your friends?
No, I played in high school. Yeah, I played in high school. Played AAU ball. I traveled quite a bit. I didn't play in college, though. By the time I got to college, that's when I started, like, kind of rapping, and, basketball kind of fell. It's just like a hobby thing, but yeah.
What was the career high for you playing basketball? What was the moment that you would look back and reflect on?
I remember I had a couple cool homies, man. I got to travel on some pretty exclusive teams. I played. There's two parts of high school basketball. There's your high school career, and then there's your AAU career as well. So, I played on some pretty exclusive teams when I was in the AAU. Shared this, was on the same team as like Chauncey Billups guys who are in the NBA. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We played against them. And then I remember in high school there was actually a tournament, pretty exclusive or pretty competitive, really competitive. Like teams from all over the country came and played in the De La Salle tournament. De La Salle is known for their football, but they also have a pretty good basketball team, and they hosted a tournament every year here in the Bay Area. And our team, I was named like all tournament team along with a lot of other great players, who went on to like go to the NBA and stuff like that. So that was like pretty cool. I was just like, hey, my name is forever cemented in that. You know what I mean? So you look back, in the late '90s, you'll see, boom, I was on that team. So that was cool. But yeah, I mean, the whole experience was great.
At what age for you did you start picking up a microphone or start rhyming?
Oh, I didn't start till kind of later, like I would say like 19, 20. You know what I mean? Like I didn't record an actual song or record like myself rapping till I was, I want to say 19.
And were you already like freestyling before that, or rhyming with friends before that, or what was the transition?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I always freestyle. I mean, I think the first time I attempted to like really freestyle was like when I heard Nas, It Was Written. I mean, Nas Illmatic. You know what I mean? When I heard that, I think I was a senior in high school, or no, I was like a junior in high school, and I heard that, and I was like, whoa, this is dope. You know what I mean? Like this, it really, like I had never heard rap in that way. Before that, I was mainly into the music, like mainly into the beats, mainly like, you know what I mean? It was just like, I mean, I had an appreciation for lyricism, and, because I always loved like Big Daddy Kane and like, like the older kind of stuff like that, Rakim, Ice Cube, early Ice Cube, and NWA and stuff like that. But I was definitely more focused on the music side. I was just like more in amazement of production. And then when I heard Nas, I was just like, yo, I never heard anybody rap like that. And that's when I was like, yo, maybe, and I didn't take it seriously at all, but I was just like, if I was gonna rap, I would write rhymes like that. You know what I mean? Like that was my first blueprint to like want to rap, was when I heard Nas's Illmatic.
What was the spot when you were, starting to rap, where you're growing up, that you would go, whether it was a club where all the shows happened, or a place where you'd cypher with your friends, whether it was the backseat of a car or a bedroom, or where would you go?
Well, there was a place, actually I had a friend of mine who had like he wasn't even a recording studio, but he had like recording equipment, like a microphone in his closet. And every week, me and two of my friends, they used to go first. They used to like, man, we're going over here, we writing these raps. And I was like, really? That seems cool. You know what I mean? Like, I might want to try that. So one day they brought me along, you know what I mean? And I just got I was like, whoa, this is cool, and I wrote some raps and, recorded it in the closet, you know what I mean? And I was like, we used to go there every week. That was like the place where I honed my skills, because we did that for years, like 2 years of just like every week, once a week, like every Friday or either every Saturday or Sunday, we would go over there and we would just record, we weren't paying any money. It was just somebody's house. It was a friend of ours, and we just had fun. And, our friend, he made beats, and we would just go over there and rap these random raps just over all these beats. And, over the time period, you just start to hone it and get your skills together. And it was, I don't know, that's where I, like, started developing, you know what I mean, a skill set.
You mentioned that you went to UC Berkeley. You hold a Bachelor of Arts degree from there. What was your experience in college like there?
My experience was cool. It was what was it like? It was I was definitely started rapping by then. I had just like it was still just like kind of home stuff, but my education there was great, man. I had always wanted to go to UC Berkeley because, like I said, I had mentors that were older than me who were already going there. And I was just like, yo, whether I play basketball or not, I always want to go to Cal Berkeley. So when I was able to get my grades together, I went to community college for a couple years, and I was able to transfer, and I got accepted to Berkeley. It was like a big accomplishment for me. I was very happy. My family was very happy. And I took my education very seriously, especially in the beginning. Like I got all straight A's, like I think the first year. And then like the second year, I kind of started my focus. Even though I was like, at that point, after the first year, I was kind of like, all right, I know I can do this college shit. You know what I mean? So then I started like focusing on like rapping more. I started getting more into the art form and just like wanting to craft rhymes. So not saying I didn't take school as seriously, but like I had to split my priorities up. Like school was definitely a priority, but rapping was a priority to me too. That, it was a priority as well. So I split my time. I wasn't just like go to school, come home, study, and do this. You know what I mean? I started like, all right, go to school, but when I come home, I'm gonna start working on these songs and stuff too. So I had to balance it out. And by the time, I graduated, and I still kept a pretty good grades. It wasn't straight A's, but it was like, I did what I needed to do. I was really ready to get done. I was like, I want to get this done so I can just focus on rapping. Like I want to focus on really trying to do this. So by the time it got to my last semester, I was like, all right, yeah, thank you guys. All right, let's go. You know what I mean? So I was like, I just wanted to get it done.
So you did African American studies there. What was the thesis that you wrote, or the essay that you remember writing in college, the one that really sticks out to you?
Oh man, I wrote a lot of. When you're African American studies major, all you're doing is writing. So it was like, gosh, it was so many. I wrote a lot of different. I remember around that time, a very hot topic was. It was around the time Eminem was like becoming prominent. You know what I mean? It was like at the peak of Eminem. You know what I mean? Like when Eminem was like the number one guy, like 2002, 2003. And I remember I wrote a paper on white appropriation of, black music. And specifically in hip hop, not that it was a good or a bad thing, just the fact of like, that how white artists have appropriated, quote unquote black music. And that was definitely a paper that got a lot of, you know what I mean? That was just like very in tune with the times. You know what I mean? Because like at that time we had never seen a prominent white hip hop artist. You know what I mean? Now it's you see it all the time. You know what I mean? But you take it back 10, 12 years ago, that wasn't as prominent. Eminem was like the first to really get accepted, like within the hip hop community, not within the pop community, because you had other stuff like Vanilla Ice, of course, but Eminem was just like, yo, you know what I mean? He had Dre behind him, other artists, everybody accepted him into the community, which was a great thing, but it was just a very new dynamic. So I wanted to kind of like talk about that and how it, and how other culture, how other genres of music, how this had happened too, talking about jazz, rock and roll, how these are primarily started off as African-American art forms within American, soil, and then it got appropriated by the mainstream.
One thing else that I learned when I was doing some research about you is that you used to work doing mentoring with kids. Tell me about that.
Yep. Just talk about it. Yeah, I mean, I did it. For many years while I was in college, I was mentoring specifically young men between the ages of like 11 to like 17. So we, the organization, it was a nonprofit organization, and the program that I ran, it was called the Independent Living Skills Program, and we tutored as well as mentored young boys, like helping them prepare for, for one, helping them as much as possible with the academics, and helping them prepare life after life after high school, like how to be independent, how to fill out a job application, how to fill out a college application, how to, manage money and the things that you have to look forward to when you're going to be on your own, because eventually one day you're going to be on your own. And we kind of just wanted to help them, usher them into like dealing with independence and manhood. So it was it was great, man. I did it for many years. It wasn't until about 3 years ago I stopped doing it because, I was just so busy with music, and it was like, music was, doing music and doing everything within hip hop. I just wasn't able to do do both of them at the same time. So I had to kind of like, pick and choose, and I had to, unfortunately I miss a lot of those kids and working with them. But, I feel like I can help them in other ways, as far as with my music and putting positive energy out there.
What was the most rewarding part of that work for you?
Just, I don't know, but connecting with the kids, man, connecting with them, seeing how, you can have a positive influence on their life. I mean, not every kid is going to go to college. Not every kid is going to, some of them are going to get in trouble. But I think overall, generally speaking, it was a positive effect. And a lot of them, even now, because like I said, I did this for about 10 years after I graduated high school. And some of them are like, older, a little bit older now, and they hit me on Facebook, or I see them out in the street. Some of them actually come to shows and be like, yo, man, I love your music, and I remember when you was helping us. You know what I mean? So that makes me happy to know that not only could I have been an example then, but to be an example now, to see that, to see their growth as young men, it's very rewarding.
So you were working in a mentorship role with them, but is there anything that you learned from them or that they taught you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I learned patience, for one, and I learned that just to be sensitive to everybody's situation. You're dealing with so many different people from different situations, different backgrounds, and learning how to, learning how to just deal with people, and learning how to understanding their struggles and being sensitive to everyone's struggles. And yeah.
Earlier on, you were talking about, how you didn't realize it until later, but the impact of having both parents in the household. Is that something that clicked in as you were working with these kids, or when did that sort of sink into you, the impact of having, a steady parenthood coming up, both parents?
I mean, that's something I was always aware of, you know what I mean? But until you get older, then you really like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, that's probably one of the reasons why I've held back on having, like, I don't have any kids or anything like now, because I know my father was such an, especially being, a young man, my father was very, very important in my life, not saying that single mothers can't do it, because they've been doing it for generations. But I know that my father was very, I'm very grateful to have had my father, as well as my mother, but especially my father there every step of the way, going to my basketball games, telling me like, yo, son, don't do that. And then me doing it and fucking up and him saying, see, I told you. Now, you know what I mean? And just having that voice, it was just a very, I'm just grateful for having that because I know how important it is. So I know even for myself, when I have a child, whether it's a son or a daughter, I want to be the same way. I want to be there. I don't want to have to, be gone for months at a time because I'm on tour. I can't, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't want to do that to my son or my daughter's mother, so that's why I'm kind of waiting till I'm a little bit more settled or more established to where I can take time and do that. And right now, as you know, when you're independent and when you're growing and you're grinding, you don't really have time to slow down for too much. So I'm very appreciative of that. And my father was there for me, and he sacrificed a lot for me to do that. And I wouldn't want to have kids until I'm able to make that sacrifice too. But I was very aware of it, and I'm still aware of it. You know what I mean? My father, I'm still very close with him. He's like my best friend, and yeah.
Let's bring it back to lofty goals. One of the things that comes up a lot on the album is this conflict of escaping self-doubt. Tell me about that struggle.
That's always kind of been an issue of mine, man. I talk about it because I guess I'm like exercising demons as I'm talking about it, because I just want to always keep myself aware of that. That's something I've always struggled with. It's like doubt, anxiety, those kind of things. Because I'm a thinker. I'm constantly thinking. I'm constantly always evaluating, and that's a great thing because I don't ever want to just be just in the same place. I always want to grow. So when you grow, you have to self-evaluate, but also you run the risk of doubting yourself. You know what I mean? Because, you're always kind of evaluating and seeing, then you be like, oh, I could have did this better. And then you might harp on that too long. So it's a very thin line, between, just like I said, there's a very thin line between insecure and humble, between cocky and confident. Like you have to be aware of these things. Sometimes you have to be a little cocky, and then sometimes you have to know when to just like be humble, and it's up to you to kind of figure that out. And I try to always, as much as I praise myself, I also like to be critical of myself too. And these are conversations that I have with myself. It's just like constantly evaluating, and it's something I have to struggle with because of that fact. And it's a part of life. So yeah.
One of the struggles, I think, and I feel the same way as you do. I'm one of those people that constantly thinks about so many things, and you're right. It's such a benefit a lot of the time where you can work harder sometimes than other people because you're always thinking, but at the same time it can be a detriment where often your mind automatically, when you think too much on one thing, your mind automatically focuses on the most negative thing of all possible. Do you find that happening with yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I even with the album, when I put out the album, this last album, completing this album, I was just like, at some point I was just like, you know what, just fucking let it go. Like, it's done. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Like, even while I was creating it, like it doesn't take me very long to write. So, you know what I mean? A lot of times. The only thing, or even like, I did a lot of, as well as along with my production partner, we did a lot of the production on the album too. And since I started working on production, like now I get hung up on that. You know what I mean? Now it's not just the rhymes, it's the beats too. I'm just like, yo, this fucking snare doesn't sound right. We gotta go out and redo this a million times. And then eventually it's just like, yo, it's fucking done. You know what I mean? Like either you do the best that you can, you put it out into the universe, and hopefully people can connect with it, and you do and you go to sleep at night knowing that you did the best and you put the best effort that you possibly could, or else you'll be working on it forever. And at the end of the day, I'm doing this music to inspire people, and I want to put it out there. I want it to be out there in the world. And if I just keep it, and keep on working on it and never put it out there, then it serves no purpose other than my own selfish needs or my own insecurities. And I don't want that to happen. So it's a thin line. Like I said, you have to eventually you just got to be like, all right, put it out there. You know what I mean? Just let it go and just see what happens. And, you just go from there.
Another thing that comes up a lot on the album, along with overcoming self-doubt, is this concept and the struggle of overcoming pride. You say things like, my arrogant ways left me stuck in a mess, and I admit I made mistakes, or that I admit that my mistakes got out of hand because I was proud.
Yeah.
How has that journey gone for you, overcoming pride?
I mean, it's, I guess it's like everything else, man. it goes back to like I was saying, that thin line, between having I think it all comes down to being insecure, man, and that comes back to self-doubt. It's like I feel like people who are overly prideful or overly cocky or overly, arrogant or whatever, it's because they're insecure about something. And I had to be honest with myself about that. It's just like, when you're overly boastful, you're really like, it's because you're compensating. You know what I mean? Because you may be unsure, you may be insecure about something, so you have to put up this, you have to puff yourself up a little bit. And I was a victim of that too. You know what I mean? It's just like, but when you just get to the point where, in order to grow, you just got to put it out there, man. So I just figured, fuck it. Now I'm spilling it out every chance I can. You know what I mean? It's all kind of songs in different ways because it's a liberating, and I feel like every time I do it, it's a growth. So those are where those kind of notions and those lyrics come from. They come from me just like letting it out. Putting the energy out there and saying like, look, this is what it is, and I've been a victim of this too, and it's kind of my way of apologizing to anybody that I may have been like arrogant towards, or even the fans too. Like, this is my way of saying like, look, I may have been fucked up, or but this is a part of life. We're human beings. We all do this kind of stuff.
I want to bring up a tweet of yours. It's sort of in a similar vein. You say, don't worry about other people's expectations. Odds are they can't live up to them either. Can you get into that?
Yeah, man. I feel like I'm glad you brought that up because, if you worry about a lot, especially, earlier in my career or doing music, I always felt myself trying to like catch up to what other people are doing or trying to, meet other people's expectations. And the reality is, you're setting unrealistic bars for yourself because you'll never reach that. You just have to do the best that you can. And most of the time, these people that you're trying to put on this front for, trying to live up these expectations for, they can't even live up to them. They're putting on a show. They're putting on and you don't understand that there's a lot that goes into that. You may not know what that other person is what's going on behind the scenes with them. So you're trying to live up to what they're doing, but they may be doing something that you don't aware of, that you're not aware of. So you just have to focus on you, do what you do, be the best person that you can be, and you'll meet. You'll see growth and elevation. And I feel like it's a struggle, but I feel like that's where I've seen the most growth in myself, is when I kind of just focus on that and not worrying about what other people want you to be.
Do you think that ties into how social media, this environment that we're coming up in right now, where everybody is putting out their best self? You see people posting all of the highs, but you don't see any of the lows behind that, or any of the day-to-day mundane things that people are doing. Do you get a sense of that as well?
I don't really know, man. I don't really pay too much attention to that stuff too much. I know with myself, I try to be honest, but at the same time, I also want to inspire people. I don't want to always focus on negative shit. You know what I mean? Because we all know there's negative. You know what I mean? We all know it's like I don't know if this is off topic, but maybe you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. It's like and I guess this varies for every individual. It's like when you're trying to come up, like let's just say that, like, this rapper, let's just say this hypothetical rapper, and this rapper, he's struggling, he's an independent rapper, he's trying to come up. And people always say, well, you don't need to have, you need to have people that are honest with you, and you don't need to have yes men around. But I almost kind of disagree with that. I believe, like, you need yes men. You need people to boost your confidence. You need people to give you that, because it's hard out here, man. Like, for myself, I feel like a lot of my career, I had a lot of no men around. You know what I mean? And like, that can be bad too, because it's like people always just like, yeah, like, you need people to encourage you, like, yo, your shit is dope, keep going. Because at the end of the day, what's dope and what's not dope that's all subject to opinion anyway. You know what I mean? Just because you think Locksmith is a dope rapper doesn't mean the person next to you thinks that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, so you need positive, basically I'm saying you need positive reinforcement. You constantly need that. But you need to be, you need to evaluate yourself as well, but you need positive reinforcement, man. You constantly need that. And it's like, I want to bring out the best in people. I want to give them positive reinforcement in my music. Not that I'm saying I'm going to say unrealistic shit, but I want to show them, like, hey, you know what I mean? It's okay to be you. be the best you that you can be. I'm going to try to put out the best me that I can be, and hopefully it can inspire you. And I don't know if that's off the topic. I don't know about what other people are doing on Twitter or on these social networks, and women with fake butts and breasts and all that kind of stuff, or guys, flashing money that they don't have. I'm assuming that goes on, but I try not to pay attention to that kind of stuff, But I'm just saying, as far as me, I like to just put out positive energy, positive vibes, and hopefully inspire people, because I know I need that shit. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, when I'm going through things, I want to look. When I hear music, I want to hear shit that's like, I don't know, maybe it's just because the climate that we're in is so much, negative things that are going on. I just gear more towards somebody that's going to inspire me and make me say, like, hey, I can get through this,
Talk about this. You're mentioning being, some of the challenges of being independent and the kind of people that you need around you and how hard it can be. Tell me about the challenge of being an independent artist. What's something that you didn't maybe realize until you were right in the thick of it that is that maybe artists don't even think about it? They say, I want to go independent, but they don't consider the ramifications of what that really means.
Oh man, I mean, there's a lot, it's not easy, man. It's just the balance, finding the balance. I'm very much an artist. I'm an artist to my core. Like, I'm constantly creating. Like, even when I'm not in the studio, even when I'm not, in front of a computer, I'm constantly creating. I'm constantly thinking. I'm constantly analyzing things and figuring out how I can make it a beat or how I can utilize it as some kind of strategy for my art or something. You know what I mean? And it's difficult, being independent, like, you're a staff of maybe, one or two. You know what I'm saying? And then you maybe grow to maybe 5 or 6 or 7. You know what I mean? And you get to maybe like Tech 9 status or something like that. But, you're essentially starting off with yourself. You know what I mean? That's, hence the title, independent. So there's a lot, man. I mean, you have to worry about business. This is the music business, and I want to do music for a living. I don't want to have another job or anything like that. So how do you monetize your art? And it's a very thin line, with there's the ethical, aspect of it. And then there's just the actual physical aspect of like managing your own business, you know what I mean? Day to day, returning emails, doing spreadsheets, scheduling appointments, make sure you spend time doing your taxes, you know what I mean? Coordinating with an accountant, constantly checking on your checking account and make sure that money is coming in and out and reporting these things. Like, it's an actual business, and that's time that you could be spending on rapping or making beats or being creative, but you have to what do they call it? Compartmentalize. You know what I mean? And say, okay, I'm going to spend this time to do this, and I'm going to do that, and you know what I mean? And that's what you have to do as an artist. But I definitely you've learned the business, you learn how to do it, and and I'm learning how to do it, and I feel like it makes you, I don't know, you have a different sensibility as opposed to just like, hey, everything's done for me. You understand how to work everything, and you have a knowledge, so you have a business sense because you have to.
Being an independent artist and being a company of one of sorts, has that forced you to confront yourself and deal with yourself in a certain way, really get to accept who you are and accept things like admitting that you have self-doubt issues or sometimes can be too proud? Is that something that comes from being, being forced to deal with yourself?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I think that's just kind of the person that I am. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or but I don't think. I think just being independent is just a necessity most of the time. You know what I mean? I mean, to be completely honest, it's a necessity. It's like, yo, this is what I want to do. I want to do music. I don't have money to hire people. I don't have these kind of things. I don't have a record deal, but I know this is what I want to do. So I'm going to do it, and this is the only way. And you just build it over the years. You build a little team. You say, hey, this guy's going to do this for me, and hopefully he can help me out over here, and she's going to help me out over here. And then you know what I mean? You just start handling it yourself. So it's just, I don't know. I think that just came out of necessity. Mm-hmm. But as far as like, the other thing, it's just like, I don't know. It just has to be with the person and how the person is.
As far as independent versus being on a label, you have a line in For Now where you say, being honest is a wealth deterrent. Can you dig into that line?
It's, I've had, like I said, people in the industry, or certain people have been like, I guess I give people more credit than maybe some people do. Like some people say, look, people don't want to hear that, they only want to hear this, but I feel like I give people credit. I feel like people do want to hear more honest art or more, music that resonates on a conscious and a subconscious level. So I believe that, even though naysayers may say, look, you got to do one kind of thing, I believe if you give the people fruits and vegetables, they will choose that over candy most of the time. You know what I mean? Like, we all want a little candy sometimes, but I believe if you give them the option of having this ripe, beautifully natural, organic fruit, that they are going to choose, strawberries and cherries and, kiwis and pineapples and, all these things, as opposed to artificially flavored candy. Even though that's mass produced and it's easy, but I feel like if you give them the option, if you put it out there and you work it, it may take a little bit longer for it to resonate, but eventually they're going to be like, yo, I've been missing out. Like, you know how it is when you eat a really great organic, ripe, strawberry. It's like, yo, this shit tastes better than any fucking processed, piece of fruit that anybody could give me. So it just takes time for people to be like, yo, I've been eating this candy all day. I want something real. Oh shit, this tastes phenomenal. Yeah, it's been here the whole time. So it just takes time, and I just feel like, if you stick to that, eventually it will be able to resonate. But some people, they don't see that right away. They just be like, yo, you got to do this, you got to do that, and I don't know. Real shit just takes a little bit more time for it to sink in.
I put this question to a couple other artists a while ago, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. What do you think is missing from music right now? What messages do you think are missing from music right now?
I don't, man. I mean, to be completely honest, man, I don't really know. I can't really. What messages, like, music is art, man. I don't know. I get sometimes I hear people say, music, hip hop has got to be this way, or hip hop has got to be that way, or music is. This is art, man. You know what I mean? People create art, and the way people receive it is how they receive it. I don't know about what messages. I know my message is missing because it's me. You know what I mean? So I have to interject my message and who I am, and try to give people inspiration, my life story or my struggles or what I've gone through, because it's me. So I know that that's missing. Other than that, I really can't say. You can say, well, rap needs to be more political, and rap needs to, well, I believe there's a lot of political rap out there. There's a lot of conscious rap. There's a lot of party rap. It's all there. You know what I mean? It's just, I just feel like the individual, how you perceive politics and how you perceive the party and how you perceive that is going to depend on the individual. And if you're being honest with yourself, then your art is going to be honest. So
right.
I don't know what's missing, but I know that my story is missing, and I'm trying to interject it.
Now, this debate is circling a lot right now, and I've been having this with some of the other people at the Come Up Show, talking about the in hip hop. There's two sides to things. There's the side of whether co-writing and ghostwriting is acceptable and credible, or whether it should be totally looked down upon in the industry. What are your thoughts on whether co-writing is something that is, does it get a pass from you, or does it not get your approval?
I'm glad you asked me this, man, because I've been wanting to talk about this. Man, look, at the end of the day, when you're a songwriter, this is what people don't understand. Like, for a long time, I'm trying to formulate the right way to say this. You know what I mean? Like, within hip hop, there's this whole thing about, hip hop, you're writing your lyrics, and me being one of those guys, being a lyrical, quote unquote, lyrical guy that people say, yo, like, he has lyrics and he's a lyricist, you know what I mean? And people, know I've displayed that many a time. But then there's also a side of hip hop is an art form. It's a musical art form. We're making songs. So then there's the songwriting aspect as well. You know what I mean? And then there's a very big difference between being a dope rapper and being a dope songwriter, or being a dope MC and being a dope songwriter. You know what I mean? Or being a lyricist. Like, everybody's definition of these things are different. So everything is subjective. You know what I mean? Like, what like your definition, I don't know. Like, to me, people say, all right, well, you know, if you're a lyricist, you got to use this many syllables. And I'm like, I don't really know it. I don't really know that. I mean, that's subjective. Like, to me, I might think a lyricist is one thing. I may think an MC, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Like, so, like, all these different opinions are subjective. But then a songwriter is somebody who can write a song or create a song where it makes for, at the end of the day, makes for a dope song that people can relate to, that people can sing along to, that has melody, that has something or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's like, when you're talking about co-writers and you're talking about people coming in, I personally don't think that there's nothing wrong with having someone come in and help you craft, co-write songs or do whatever you have to do to make this song a better thing. I believe that's collaboration. That's what you want to make the best song possible. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And sometimes that may take just you. You might come up with it and be like, oh, this is it. And you know what I mean? It just might be you and the producer, or you craft it yourself. And you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And then sometimes it may be collaborating with different people and bringing people in. Like, you know what, you're really good with melodies. You know, what do you think of this track? And then they may come up with a melody, and you may fill in the words, or they may have some words, and you may switch things around, and you may fine-tune it. I mean, that's anybody that understands songwriting knows that this is how songwriting is created. And these are how songs are created. So, of course, within hip-hop, you know, we're like, yo, you know what I mean? If you didn't write all 100% of it, I mean, you know, but I think that, I mean, well, I don't know if it's unfortunate, but the reality of it is, like, hip-hop has grown past, it's not just a subculture. You know what I mean? It's mainstream culture now. So it's become to where hip-hop artists are pop artists. They're popular artists. So they're going to do whatever they can to create the best music. And whether you think it's good or bad, you know, that's your opinion, but they're going to do whatever they can to create the best songs. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that artist who gets help, he's not as credible as an MC as the person who doesn't? I mean, that's your opinion for you to decide, you personally. You know what I mean? Me personally, I guess I would have to take it situation by situation, you know, but who knows who's writing what? You know, we don't even know some of our favorite artists that we consider legendary if they got help. I mean, we've heard rumors. I've heard rumors about a lot of people, you know, right. But who knows what's been written? So I don't know, man. I guess at the end of the day, it's just up to your decision on whether you like it or how you judge it, you know?
I have to admit, I was on the other side of the fence before this, asking you the question, but you made some good points, and I have to reevaluate my stance now.
Yeah, man. Dude, personally, I've never had anybody write my lyrics. You know what I mean? I've written stuff for other people. You know what I mean? But I have had people help me with songs. You know what I mean? Like, to grow as a songwriter, to be like, yo, what do you think of this hook? You know what I mean? And they just be like, I don't like it. And I'd be like, well, why you don't like it? It's too many words. Really? So then I go back and I'd be like, what do you think of this? Oh, it's a little bit better. And then I come back and what do you think of this? That's hot. Oh, really? And then I realize, well, what did I do that was hot? Or then I'll go to another friend, and I'll be like, yo, what do you think of this hook? And they'd be like, that's dope, but you should say it like this. I'm like, oh, that's a little bit better. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You know, and then that's how collaboration happens. And then they might be like, look, what do you think of this idea? I'm like, yo, that's a good idea, but that's not right. This is how you should do it. And then it's like, oh, shit, that's the shit. You know what I mean? Like, and then it comes out for a better song. So why wouldn't you want that? I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, you just know, trust me, man, I've been in this shit for 15 years. You know what I'm saying? Nobody, I mean, you name them, there's nobody who's been successful for any sustained period of time. No artist that's just done everything themselves. It's just impossible. Mm-hmm. You have to. I mean, there's no person in the world who's done everything themselves. It's always they've had people contributing and helping them get better. Like, it's just no way. You know what I mean? I don't know to what degree, you know what I mean? And how, whatever with the degree that they do, you know what I'm saying? That's up to you to decide if you think it's credible or not. But at the end of the day, everybody's got to get help, man. And this has come from somebody who, you know, is a lyricist and that can rap and do all this kind of stuff. It's like, man, you, as an artist, man, you have to be able to accept help, you know?
Moving in a different direction, you mentioned before you graduated in African American Studies. This week, we're coming up to what will be 1 year since the death of Mike Brown. What do you make of what's going on in America right now?
I think I spoke about it in one of my songs. My recent album is called Fallen. I mean, it's just, it's a frustrating thing, man. You see, first of all, I think that it's horrible for anybody to suffer. I don't like to see death. You know what I mean? I don't like to see death, whether it's an innocent person or even a person who did wrong. You know what I mean? And then it's just like, I don't want to see them killed. I don't want to see cops get killed. So I think it's just very, it's a lot of turmoil. It's a lot of disparity going on in the country. It's always happened. I think this is, I don't know, man. It's just unfortunate. It's very hard for me to sit here and say that, I can't sit here and say that all cops are bad. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that America has when you have a society like we have, which is based on, capitalism and everybody trying to get as much money as they can. And, sometimes you're going to create this lower class of people, and the lower class of people are going to be the people that you feel like you can treat any kind of way. So when you have these kind of disparity, you're going to have issues like we have, and I don't think it's just necessarily race. I mean, of course, race is a part of it, because that's what this United States, this country was built on slave labor, primarily on the institution of racism and the institution of slavery, which is, based on, which was justified through racism. So there are those that blood is still in the soil, and these are like those were the roots and the seeds that were planted. So this is what's coming up now, and it's not just the violence too. Like I said in one of my rhymes, I don't know if you ever caught this Team Backpack freestyle. I said, well, if Mike Brown doesn't exist, then neither does Jay-Z. America created both. You know what I mean? Like, if Mike Brown doesn't exist, hip hop doesn't exist. Hip hop was created out of the same way you're in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop was created in the United States. It was created in the Bronx, New York. Here are you, somebody all the way up in Canada. I just recently traveled Europe. People all the way in Europe are reciting hip hop lyrics, and they're doing hip hop, and they love hip hop. Created all the way across the seas. Like, this is how powerful hip hop is. Hip hop was created. There's a direct lineage of hip hop that goes back to the transatlantic slave trade. You know what I mean? Like, the hip hop is from that lineage. It's because it came from a place of poverty and disparity, because young Black and Latino kids, their music programs was cut from school. They didn't have any instruments. So they had to fucking find ways how to create music. So they created this culture called hip hop. Cool, DJ Kool Herc is from Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? Jamaica he's from the islands. So the islands was the seasoning place where slaves were brought from Africa. They brought them to the islands, to the West Indies, and to the Caribbean. So they were seasoned there first. So all this is embedded into the culture, it's embedded into the soil. So then you have immigrants like Kool Herc who came up to New York. All this is a part of their genetic makeup now. So when they feel the disparity, so they had to create something, this alternative culture, to combat the struggles that they were going through, and then this thing evolved called hip hop, and that's what it is. So now it resonates with the whole world because it was created. It's the biggest, to me, hip hop is the biggest and most influential modern art form. You know what I mean? There's nothing more influential in our culture in modern times. There's nothing been so. You have white people or people who are non-black who want to call themselves a nigga. Nigga is not a positive word. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's not a positive thing, but people want to identify with it because the culture of hip hop is so strong, it's so powerful, and they don't even mean it in a negative way. They mean it to embrace you. You know what I mean? Like, what up, my nigga? You know what I mean? And and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's because of the power of hip hop. And the reason why it's so powerful is because it was created from the most horrific event in modern civilization, which is the transatlantic slave trade. And it seems like it was so long ago, but these are the fruits that have these are the fruits that have grown from those seeds, and hip hop is a part of that. And that's why. So I say that to say that when you look at everything that's going on, this is a part of that. This is all a part of it. It's all branches of the same tree. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'll bring a full circle with this, and this will be my final question. Fill in the blank for me. The world would be a better place if blank.
People put love first. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about, man. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all one people. I mean, you know, we've created these barriers for whatever specific, race is not a real thing. There's no such thing genetically as you're different from me because you're black or I'm different from you. There's more genetic similarities between a black man and a white man than there can be between two black men. You know what I mean? Like I can be more genetically close to this white man than I can to my own brother. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody who's of the same race. Not my same brother, but somebody that's of the quote unquote same race as me. Like, so race is not a real thing. It's not based on science. It was created for social and political reasons. So when we start understanding that, like, none of these things, money, all these things are only the real thing is the emotion of love, and you have to have compassion and love for one another. That's the only way we'll be able to get over the things that are ailing the world right now, is to understand, like, yo, you can't, and it sounds cliche, like, yo, just love, but, like, really, what else is there if you try to focus on money, if you try to focus on race? And I'm not saying that we should ignore all our race problems or ignore all our political and, you know what I mean, whatever else is going on in the world, but we have to understand that the only way we're going to be able to understand one another is to have compassion and love for one another, or else we're going to constantly be in conflict with each other.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it. Is there anything else that I haven't asked that you want to still add?
No, man, I just appreciate your time, man. It's a pleasure, and, it's all good.
Well, there you have it. If you want to know more about Locksmith, go to thecomeupshow.com. We've got more albums there. You can check out The Green Box. You can check out Lofty Goals, some of the videos off there. Check out 1,000 Cuts. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes if you haven't already. Follow us on SoundCloud too. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Come Up Show. Once again, I'm Martin Bauman. Thank you for joining me. We'll see you next time.